Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this short video, I'm going to cover two different topics at the same time. First of all, my end goal is to create a virtual machine in a Ubuntu virtual machine and install Docker so we can play with the Docker container and do some stuff, create custom image using dockerfile and post some of the images or containers to the Docker Hub and the Azure Container Registry in upcoming videos. So in this video we're gonna create a virtual machine, and what we want to do, instead of using the password that everybody uses, we will try to use the SSH public key. So this is something, if you have never used it, so you're gonna learn that how to use SSH public key for your authentication to your virtual machines, Ubuntu virtual machine, which is more secure than your password based authentication. And then once we have that, we are going to install the Docker in our virtual machine. So let's get started. So just like anything, we're going to start with the virtual machine. We'll just search in the bar, it's showed up, so go there and let's just create a virtual machine. Just say add. So this experience is same as any other services that you have Microsoft. They're very similar, familiar. So once you get used to one service, it shouldn't be too difficult. I'm just going to create a new resource group. Let's just call it Docker Labs. Okay, so that's the name of the resource group that I'm going to deploy. East Asia is not my favorite. My favorite is East US. So select that virtual machine name. Let's just say Docker Ubuntu. Okay, so that's what we are gonna call our virtual machine. I don't need any redundancy, anything like that, so that's fine. I'm gonna use 18.4. that is okay. And this, usually I use a very low power machine. Let's get a little bit more powerful, maybe say D2VS3. D2SV3 should be good. Okay, so let's get that one. So here is what, if you are watching my videos, most of the time I just go with the password based authentication. So if you click on it, you just provide a username and the password. But over here we want to be make this particular machine more sure. Okay, here this is something I haven't noticed. Azure now automatically generates an SSH key pair for you and allows you to store it for further use. That's interesting. This is fast, simple and secure way to connect to your virtual machine. So I have not used this, so let's see. So here it looks like you have multiple choices now. You can create a new key pair, use existing key stored in Azure, and use existing public key. Excellent. So let's change that to student first, and let's think about it, which one we want to use. I was gonna use a key that I was gonna generate. So let's, for this one, try this one maybe. Try use an existing key. So learn about creating and using SSH keys in Azure. The value must not. So we can use the other two options, but let's see how to generate the keys from your own local machine that you have. So this is, I have a Ubuntu machine that I'm running. I'm just going to create the key from here and use that for the lab. Alright, so for the SSH keys in your local machine, they're usually stored in this SSH folder. So if you do ls tilde, then .ssh, and there is only one file for known host. So let's also take a look at what we have here. Okay, so we have some SSH keys that are already stored, but I have not created anything new for the virtual machine that I would like to connect. Okay, so what I need to do is use this command Okay, SSH key gens, and I need a sudo permission. SSH key gen, and I think that, and I provide my own password to the system, sudo password, and it should create enter the file in which to save the key, root SSH ID RSA. I think that should be fine, so just hit enter. Created directory, we already had the directory. Enter a passphrase, empty for no password. I don't need any, no need any. So there should be now a file created that is ID RSA pub. So that's the public key that we need to log in to the virtual machine. So let's take a look at the folder again that we already had. So if we come over here, do a SSH, not cat, I need to do a ls. Okay, I don't, where did it create? SSH ID RSA ls LH. Oh, it created under root SSH ID RSA. All right. So it created ls. Let's go to root, go to .sh, and then I need a sudo again. So these are the two files that it's created. So we're gonna use this key that's now generated to go and upload this key back to our Azure. Okay. Alright, so let's do a cat on this, or do a less on this. Maybe sudo less again if we need the permission. Sudo less. Where do we wanna go again? Root .sh, and then I need you know what, I'm just gonna log into this folder first. cd root why it's not going to that file? Root, it's not letting me get, give me 1 second. Okay. Alright, so it turns out that you cannot directly go to the SSH folder if you are logged in as the Ubuntu user. So what we really need to do, we need to do just sudo, then do a issue, and sudo issue root. There we go. So you, even within Ubuntu, since by default you cannot be logged in as root, you have no access to the root directories and folders. So this is the tip that I have for you. If you're using Ubuntu, you gotta do that to access that file. So in here, if I do ls lah, do I have, I gotta go to the root folder now. Hold on. So let's do a clear on it. And now from here you go to your root folder. Okay, here if you do ls lah, you should be able to see the .sh folder right there. So let's get into that one. So .sh. Now if you do ls on it, there is the file that we created running the SSH keygen. Okay, so now I can do a cat on it. ID rsa.pub. So here's the file that I need. So let's just get all of it and copy this and come back to our Azure and put it here. I think that's all you need for this one. And then here I'm going to allow port 22 for our access from my machine to this machine. and then let's just do review and create and see what happens. Just give it a couple minutes to create, and once this comes back, validation is successful, just say yes. Okay, so just remember, we used our username as student, and we provided a key that we have created from this account over here. Okay, let's see what happens. So right now what is going on, so your deployment is going on, so you can see what is going on in this big view. It's going to create your IP, network security group, virtual network, disk storage, everything like that. You can also look at your what's going on over here. This notification bar is also going to say your deployment is in progress and it's running. Okay, so let it happen, and let me pause my video and I'll be back in a second. Alright, looks like the deployment is now completed, so you can just click over here to go to the resource, to go to your virtual machine, and just make sure that it's running. This is the Docker Labs, and you can click on connect, and since we're going to use SSH, it's going to tell you how to connect it, and it's just telling you ensure that you have read-only permission to the private key, and what we need to do, provide a path to SSH private key file and run the sample command below to connect to your virtual machine. So SSH-I private key path student this. So let's try this from here, and let's see if that is helping us or not. So private key path, it's right here, is our private key, right? Okay, before we do that, let's take a look at just do a ls on it. So ID RSA is what I need, I believe. So let's paste an I and just do ID RSA and hit enter and see if it's. So it's asking, are you sure you want to continue the connecting? So here I'm just gonna say yes, and let's see what happens. Now look at the magic. So now I'm logged in to the virtual machine. The name of the virtual machine is Docker Ubuntu. Student is my username. So right now what I just did, I just logged in to the virtual machine that is running right over here in our virtual machine. This is the name of the machine, virtual machine, right? And this is what we have. So we have accomplished the first task that we wanted to do. In this particular lab, we have created our own key and used that key and used this command to get to the virtual machine, right? So we know that now we have successfully connected to the virtual machine. The next phase that I also want to cover is how to install the Docker. Let me just see if the Docker is available in this one. So in this particular virtual environment that we created, Docker is not available. So if you say just Docker, it's just telling you can do can be installed with sudo snap install docker, sudo apt install docker.io. These days snap is a newer version, so let's just try this one and see if this works. If not, you'll have to go through adding the repository and everything else. So let's see if we can get and download the install docker just by running sudo snap install docker. So again, remember, this is the virtual machine. We are really in an Azure environment, and in this particular environment we are downloading Docker, and we are using the snap installer for this particular exercise, and this is helping us to install the Docker environment that we're going to use to create some Dockerfile and play with it to create some containers. And our goal would be to upload these containers to Docker Hub and also to the Azure Container Registry. Okay, so look at that. It didn't take much time at all. So it just said Docker 19.0 from canonical install. Just out of curiosity, if you just do Docker version, so Docker release notes, which is, what is the latest version that I have? Docker. Why don't you give me the, just say Docker version latest? So hopefully I have. What is the latest Docker version? So that's 19.03.9. So what's got installed, it's 19.03.11. so that must be a little old. That even that information is not correct. So what I'm telling you, that we have properly installed the latest version of the Docker in our machine. Okay, you can probably just check if the Docker command is now available. Look at that, it's available for us, and voila. So you can work with this Docker to do your stuff, to create your own containers, to download containers, to spin up new containers, and do whatever you like. Okay, so in the next video we're gonna get into a little bit more into Docker containers and Docker files and all of that stuff. So in this video I have provided you all the requirements to create a virtual machine, make your virtual machine secure by using a key-based SSH key-based authentication, using the SSH keygen feature, and then installing Docker to prepare your lab environment so you're ready to play with the Docker. So see you guys in the next video, where we're gonna play with the Docker, create some Docker file, and have some fun. Thank you.